Hello everyone. Now we are going to continue our lesson from where we left off in the previous video. Okay, now where were we? Okay, now we were talking about, as you can remember, we were talking about Ayasofya. And now I finished the interior and now the exit of the building, okay? As you leave the outer narthex, you have to be sure to look back and admire the 10th century mosaic of Constantine the Great, the Virgin Mary, and the Emperor Justinian on the lunette of the inner doorway, okay? Constantine is on the right, and he is offering the Virgin who holds the Christ child, the city of Istanbul, and Justinian, who is on the left of the mosaic, is offering her Ayasofya. Just after you exit the building through the beautiful gate, a magnificent bronze gate dating from the 2nd century BC, there is a doorway on the left. This leads into a small courtyard that was once part of a 6th century baptistry. In the 17th century, this baptistry was converted into a tomb for Sultans Mustafa I and Ibrahim I. And the huge stone basin displayed in the courtyard is the original font of the place. On the opposite side of Ayasofya Meydanı are the baths of Lady Hürrem. Yani Ayasofya Hürrem Sultan Hamamı, which was built between 1556 and 1557. Designed by Mimar Sinan, the hammam was commissioned by Süleyman the Magnificent in the name of his wife Haseki Hürrem Sultan, known to history as Roxelana. Okay. But when you finish your tour of Ayasofya, don't forget to visit Ayasofya tombs. Part of Ayasofya complex, but entered via Kabastakal Street. These tombs are often overlooked by tourists. And they are the final resting places of 5 sultans: Mehmet III, Selim II, Murat III, Ibrahim I, and Mustafa I, most of whom are buried with members of their families. The ornate interior decoration in the tombs features the very best Ottoman tile work, calligraphy, and decorative paintwork. Okay? Mehmet's tomb dates from 1608 and Murat's tomb from 1599, and both are adorned with particularly beautiful Iznik tiles. Next to Murat's tomb is that of his 5 children. This was designed by Sinan and his simple but beautiful painted decoration. Selim's tomb, which was designed by, again, Sinan and built in 1577, is particularly poignant as it houses the graves of 5 of his sons, murdered on the same night in December 1574 to ensure the peaceful succession of the eldest son, Murat III. It also houses the graves of 19 of Murat's sons, murdered in January 1595 to ensure Mehmet III's succession. They were the last of the royal princes to be murdered by their siblings. After this, the younger brothers of succeeding sultans were confined to the kafes, or cages, in Topkapı Palace instead. The 5th tomb is Ayasofya's original baptistry, converted to a mausoleum for Sultans Ibrahim I and Mustafa I during the 17th century, as I told you before. Okay. Okay, let's continue. I want to continue with the Blue Mosque. Istanbul's most photogenic building, yes, was the grand project of Sultan Ahmet. who lived between 1603, no, I'm sorry. This mosque was built between 1603 and 1617, and his tomb is located on the north side of the site, facing Sultanahmet Park. Okay. The mosque's wonderfully curvaceous exterior features a cascade of domes and 6 slender minarets. Blue Iznik tiles adorn the interior and give the building its unofficial but commonly used name. Yes, Blue Mosque is not its official name, it's Sultanahmet Mosque, but in English they rather use its unofficial name, Blue Mosque, because of the blue Iznik tiles, okay? The mosque's architect, Sedefkar Mehmet Ağa, managed to orchestrate the sort of visual wham-bam effect with the mosque's exterior. Wham-bam effect means çok çarpıcı, görünce insanı böyle gerçekten etkileyen, böyle çarpan bir etkisi var anlamında. Wham-bam effect o anlama geliyor arkadaşlar. Wham-bam effect with the mosque's exterior that Ayasofya achieved with its interior. Its curves are voluptuous. It has 6 minarets, and it was more than any other mosque at that time it was built. And its courtyard is the biggest of all of the Ottoman mosques. The interior has a similarly grand scale. The Iznik tiles number is in the tens of thousands. There are 260 windows, and the central prayer space is huge. To best appreciate the mosque's design, you should enter the complex via the Hippodrome, rather than from Sultanahmet Park. And once inside the courtyard, which is the same size as the mosque's interior, you'll appreciate the building's perfect proportions. The mosque is such a popular attraction that admission is controlled so as to preserve its sacred atmosphere. Only worshippers are admitted through the main door. Tourists must use the south door. Yes. Now, another piece of history, Hippodrome. The Byzantine emperors loved nothing more than an afternoon at the chariot races, araba yarışları da çok severlermiş. And this rectangular arena was their venue of choice. In its heyday, it was decorated by obelisks and statues, some of which remain in place today. Recently re-landscaped, it is one of the city's most popular meeting places and promenades. Originally, the arena consisted of 2 levels of galleries, a central spine, starting boxes, and semicircular southern end known as the spandon, parts of which still stand. The level of galleries that once topped the stone structure was damaged during the Fourth Crusade and ended up being totally dismantled in the Ottoman period. Many of the original columns were used in the construction of the Süleymaniye Mosque. The Hippodrome was the center of Byzantium's life for 1,000 years and of Ottoman life for another 400 years, and has been the scene of countless political dramas. In Byzantine times, the rival chariot teams of greens and blues had separate sectarian connections. Support for a team was akin to membership of a political party today, and the team victory had important effects on policy. Occasionally, greens and blues joined forces against the emperor, as was the case in 532 AD, when a chariot race was disturbed by protests against Justinian's high-taxed regime. And this event escalated into the Nika riots, which led to tens of thousands of protesters being massacred in the Hippodrome by imperial forces. Not unsurprisingly, chariot races were banned for some time afterwards. Ottoman sultans also kept an eye on activities in the Hippodrome. If things were going badly in the empire, the surly crowd gathering here could signal the start of a disturbance. Then a riot, then a revolution. In 1826, the slaughter of the corrupt Janissary corps, the Sultan's personal bodyguards, was carried out here by the reformer Sultan Mahmud II. In 1909, there were riots here that caused the downfall of Abdülhamid II. Despite the ever-present threat of the Hippodrome being the scene of their downfall, emperors and sultans sought to outdo one another in beautifying it, adorning the center with statues from far reaches of their empire. Unfortunately, many priceless statues carved by ancient masters have disappeared from their original homes here. Chief among the villains responsible for such thefts were the soldiers of the Fourth Crusade, who invaded Constantinople, a Christian ally city, in 1204. After sacking Hagia Sophia, they tore all the plates from the rough stone obelisk at the Hippodrome's southern end in the mistaken belief that they were solid gold. In fact, they were gold-covered bronze. The Crusaders also stole the famous quadriga, which is the team of 4 horses cast in bronze. It's really famous. A copy of which now sits atop the main door of the Basilica di San Marco in Venice. It's only the copy. The real one was stolen from Constantinople. Near the northern end of the Hippodrome, the little gazebo with beautiful stonework is known as Kaiser William's Fountain. The German emperor paid a state visit to Sultan Abdülhamid II in 1898 and presented this fountain to the Sultan and his people as a token of friendship in 1901. The motifs of the dome's interior feature Abdülhamid's Tura, in English it's monogram, and the first letter of Wilhelm's name, representing their political union. The immaculately preserved pink granite obelisk of Theodosius in the center was carved in Egypt during the reign of Thutmose III and erected in the Amon-Ra temple at Karnak. Theodosius the Great had it brought from Egypt to Constantinople in 390 AD. On the marble billboards below the obelisk, look for the carvings of Theodosius, his wife, sons, state officials, and bodyguards watching the chariot race section from the imperial box. South of the obelisk is a strange column coming out of a hole in the ground. Known as the spiral column, it was once much taller and was topped by 3 serpents' heads. Originally cast to commemorate a victory of the Hellenic Confederation over the Persians in the Battle of Platania, it stood in front of the Temple of Apollo at Delphi from 478 BC until Constantine the Great had it brought to his new capital city around 330 AD. Though badly damaged in Byzantine times, the serpent's head had survived until the early 18th century. Now all that remains of them is one upper jaw, housed in the Istanbul Archaeology Museum. Now let's talk about Basilica Cistern, okay? This subterranean structure was commissioned by Emperor Justinian and built in 532. The largest surviving Byzantine cistern in Istanbul. It was constructed using 336 columns, many of which were salvaged from ruined temples and feature fine carved capitals. Its symmetry and sheer grandeur of conception are quite breathtaking, and its cavernous depths make a great retreat on summer days. Like most sites in Istanbul, The cistern has an unusual history. It was originally known as the Basilica Cistern because it lay underneath the Stoa Basilica, one of the great squares of the first hill. Designed to service the great palace and surrounding buildings, it was able to store up to 80,000 square meters of water delivered via 20 kilometers of aqueducts from a reservoir near the Black Sea. But it was closed when the Byzantine emperors relocated from the Great Palace. Forgotten by the city authorities sometime before the conquest, it wasn't rediscovered until 1545, when scholar Petrus Gillius was researching Byzantine antiquities in the city and was told by local residents that they were able to miraculously obtain water by lowering buckets into a dark space below their basement floors. Interesting, isn't it? Some were even catching fish this way. Intrigued, Gillius explored the neighborhood and finally accessed the cistern through one of the basements. Even after his discovery, the Ottomans didn't treat the so-called underground palace with respect it deserved, and it became a dumping ground for all sorts of junk as well as corpses. The cistern was cleaned and renovated in 1985 by the Istanbul Metropolitan Municipality and opened to the public in 1987. It's now one of the city's most popular tourist attractions. Walking along its raised wooden platforms, you'll feel the water dripping from the vaulted ceilings and see schools of ghostly carp patrolling the water. It certainly has bucket loads of atmosphere. Okay, this is the end of our third video, and I'll see you in our fourth video, okay? Bye-bye, see you.